So we're going to look at another example of being able to tell algebraically whether or not a function is even or odd. So I did another example here. F of x equals 4x cubed minus 2x to the power of 5. So we're going to start off by, because we have f of x, we're going to see if it's even, because the easiest thing for me to do is negative f of x. So we're going to start off, and let me change the color real quick. So we're going to do negative f of x is going to equal a negative distributed to the entire function, minus 2x to the power of 5. There we go. So then negative f of x will equal, and then we're going to distribute this negative to everything in there, so it's going to be minus 4x cubed. And then a negative times a negative is a positive, so that'll be 2x to the power of 5. So first off, we can already tell this definitely does not equal this. So we can already tell that it's not even. So why don't we go check to see if it's going to be odd now. So we have negative f of x equals f of negative x. So we're going to replace, so okay, well first let me write out f of negative x. We know that to find out what f of negative x is, we're going to replace all the x's we see with a negative x. So we'll do 4 and then negative x to the power of 3 minus 2 negative x to the power of 5. So f of negative x equals, and then before I write whether or not this 4 is going to be positive or negative, let's take a look at what negative x times negative x times negative x is going to be. So it's going to break that down. So negative x times negative x times negative x. This is the entire thing. This is the same thing as negative x cubed. This, if we take a negative and multiply it by a negative, that's going to be a positive. And then if we take a positive and multiply it by one more negative, that's going to result in a negative number. So we know that this is going to be a negative x if it's cubed, so that'll actually be minus 4x cubed. And then before I write whether or not this 2 is going to be negative or positive, let's take a look at this, but let's take a look at what negative x to the power of 5 is going to be, because it's going to be negative x times negative x times a third negative x times a fourth negative x times one more negative x times another negative x. So if we take a negative by a negative, that's going to be a positive, multiplied by one more negative, and that's going to be a negative, and then a negative times a negative is a positive, and then a positive times a negative is going to be a negative. And yes, that sounds very confusing, but if you know the shortcut, if the exponent is to an odd power, then it's going to result in a negative number, and if it's to an even power, it's going to result in a positive number. So we really didn't have to go through that, because we know that negative x, since it's to the exponent of an odd number, it's going to result in a negative x. So negative 2 times negative x is going to be a positive number. So it's going to be plus 2x to the power of 5. So we can see f of negative x, this one right there, this one does equal negative f of x, because negative 4x cubed plus 2x to the power of 5 is negative f of x, and then we also showed that f of negative x is also negative 4x cubed plus 2x to the power of 5. So we can write a therefore statement. Therefore, f of x is an odd function. Is an odd function because f of negative x equals negative f of x.